hidden by the tranquil waters of a quiet lake. Riverside Lodge was a forgotten retreat until Nathan and Claire stepped in, united by fate and a shared vision. They transformed it from a neglected relic into a thriving haven, blending charm, warmth, and genuine hospitality. But when a prestigious travel magazine takes notice, their once peaceful escape is thrust into the spotlight. What begins as a dream come true soon becomes a whirlwind of attention, expectations, and pressure. As their love for the lodge deepens, so do the challenges they face. Will they be able to protect what they've built? Or will the overwhelming spotlight threaten everything they've worked for? Riverside Lodge is more than just a hotel. It's a symbol of second chances. And with it comes the question, can dreams survive the weight of fame? Dust had settled thickly in the corners of the abandoned hallways, like the faded memories of Riverside Lodge's golden days. Nathan Caldwell had once stood proudly at the door of the lodge, his heart filled with pride for his family's legacy that had been passed down through 2 generations. This place had been the town's gem, a favorite destination for visitors. But as the economy shifted and modern hotel chains sprouted around the lake, Riverside began to decline. The guest count dwindled each year. Debts piled up, until finally, Nathan had no choice but to shut the hotel down. This weekend, a real estate broker would arrive to discuss selling the property. Nathan knew the sale price would be far less than what the place was truly worth, but he had no other options. His heart was heavy as he packed up the last of his belongings, preparing to say goodbye to the place that had once meant everything to him. As he locked the office door, a soft knock at the front door startled him. Nathan furrowed his brow. Riverside had been closed for weeks, and the locals knew that well. Who could be coming here now? He walked over to open the door, and before him stood a young woman. She was wearing a light coat, despite the warm spring air, her body trembling as if trying to fend off the cold. Her clothes, though clean, were worn and frayed, and her face bore the unmistakable signs of exhaustion. When she spoke, her voice was faint, almost a whisper. "I don't mean to bother you, but I heard there might be a room available here. Could I stay for a night or two?" Nathan looked at her, pausing for a moment before answering. "I'm sorry, but Riverside is closed. There are other places in town." The young woman lowered her gaze, her eyes avoiding his, as if trying to hide the embarrassment she felt. "I know, but they're too expensive. I just thought, maybe I could stay here, even if just in a small corner. I don't have much money, but I can work to pay for it." The desperation in her voice made Nathan's heart tighten. He knew he shouldn't get involved, that this was a situation he should walk away from. But as he glanced around the empty hallway, memories of the lodge in its prime came rushing back. Part of him softened. The hotel has no electricity right now. There's still water, but no staff or services. I'm just cleaning up and preparing to sell it. The young woman looked up, her eyes lighting up with hope, and a faint smile flickered across her pale face. "Thank you. Truly, thank you." Nathan sighed, then walked to the front desk. He pulled a key from the drawer, still uncertain about his decision. "Room 313. It's one of the cleanest rooms. It should be comfortable enough." She took the key, her hands trembling as she grasped it tightly, as if it were a lifeline. "Thank you. I'm really grateful," she whispered again, then stepped inside. Nathan stood there, watching her disappear up the stairs, a strange feeling rising in his chest. Was it a glimmer of hope for Riverside, or just a fleeting comfort amid the stagnation? The door closed, and the silence returned, as if nothing had changed. But somewhere, within those cold walls and fading memories, a tiny shift had begun. Nathan Caldwell stood there for a moment, his heart heavy, but with a strange sense of relief. Perhaps, deep down, he had been holding onto Riverside Lodge too tightly, the place that had once been his pride. The presence of the young woman here felt like a quiet closure, a reminder that this hotel wouldn't be completely forgotten, not just for its old walls and flickering lights, but because of the people who had walked through its doors. That day, Nathan continued packing, clearing away the last of the small items in the office. Before leaving, he carefully checked on the young woman. Through the slightly ajar door, he saw her sleeping on the old bed in room 305. Her face was peaceful in the soft glow of the setting sun. A strange sense of calm washed over him. Maybe, at least for now, she had found a place to rest, even if only for a brief moment. Nathan locked the door behind him, leaving her in the quiet of the hotel. The next day, Nathan returned to finalize the paperwork with the real estate broker. But as he walked into the hallway, he was taken aback. The young woman was hard at work, scrubbing a dusty corner of the hall. One hand held a rag, the other a small bucket of water. She carefully wiped down the baseboards as if they were precious artifacts. When she noticed Nathan's presence, she quickly stood up straight, offering a shy smile. "I hope I'm not bothering you," she spoke up, her eyes full of hesitation. "I just thought, maybe this place could use a little care." Nathan looked around the hallway. The thick layer of dust that had once covered everything had disappeared, revealing the hidden beauty of the old wood. He smiled and shook his head. "It may be, but you don't need to do that. I told you to just rest." The young woman let out a soft laugh, a gentle yet warm sound that echoed in the quiet space. "I can't just sit around doing nothing. Doing something, even if it's small, makes me feel useful. This place, it deserves to be taken care of." Nathan fell silent for a moment, nodding. He understood exactly what she meant. Caring for Riverside Lodge wasn't just about cleaning a physical space. It was also her way of healing her soul with each movement as she wiped and cleaned. "Don't push yourself too hard," he said gently. "And if you need anything, just let me know." The entire day, the young woman worked tirelessly, yet always maintaining a peaceful quietness. She cleaned windows that had long been untouched, swept the dust from the floors, and even polished the front desk. As night fell, the soft yellow light from a lone lamp in the hallway made Riverside Lodge seem to come alive again. The window panes were now clear, reflecting the soft glow of light, and the old floorboards, though worn, radiated a warmth that hadn't been there in years. Nathan stopped at the end of the hallway, gazing at the space that had just been brought back to life. For a moment, he almost imagined that Riverside Lodge had returned to its former glory. When everything was done, he and the young woman locked up for the night. Before she went upstairs, Nathan spoke softly. "Thank you." She turned back, her gaze filled with tenderness. "No, I should be the one thanking you." Nathan watched as her figure disappeared up the stairs, a strange feeling rising in his chest. Amidst the struggles and the impending farewell, this girl and her simple actions had brought a flicker of hope, fragile but undeniably precious. "I didn't think I'd ever see this place looking like it used to," the young woman said, her voice hesitant but sincere. She shrugged, a shy smile tugging at her lips. "I just think this is a beautiful building. And, I don't know, I feel like places like this have a kind of soul, if you let them show you their best side." Nathan Caldwell chuckled softly, his voice warm, as if in deep agreement. "You sound just like my grandfather. He used to say things like that. He told me that if you listened carefully enough, the walls could tell stories." She tilted her head, her eyes distant as if pondering something. Maybe he was right. A comfortable silence settled between them, both seemingly lost in their own thoughts. Finally, the young woman returned to her room, leaving Nathan standing alone in the quiet hallway. But now, the silence didn't feel as heavy as it had before. Instead, it held a gentle quality, as though the place had truly transformed. Nathan stayed for a while, admiring what she had done, a task he had avoided for years. Only when the stars began to blanket the night sky did he leave. The next morning, when Nathan returned to Riverside Lodge, he was surprised to find the young woman still at work. She was rearranging the chairs in the lobby, carefully adjusting the tables as though preparing to welcome new guests. Looking up, she offered him a gentle smile. "Good morning." "I thought, if the real estate broker stops by, they might appreciate seeing the place has been taken care of." Nathan raised an eyebrow, both astonished and grateful. "That's thoughtful, but you really don't need to do all of this." She shrugged, a hint of bashfulness on her face, but still resolute. "I want to. It helps me. And I used to work in a hotel before everything changed. This makes me feel useful." Nathan fell silent, saying nothing more, but in his gaze, She could see the deep empathy he felt. Without words, they both understood that they were holding on to something, something they had both lost, something that had once shaped them. She continued her work throughout the day, never once stopping. Her actions around Riverside Lodge carried a sense of reverence, almost as if it were a ritual. She wasn't just cleaning. She was honoring the past of this place while opening the door to something new. That afternoon, Nathan walked through the lobby and noticed that she had carefully placed small wildflower bouquets on the windowsills. The colors of the flowers brought a fresh vibrancy, making the otherwise dim space seem to come alive. Her efforts had changed everything. By the end of the week, Riverside Lodge looked more vibrant than ever. The lobby was spotless, the dining area neat and inviting, and even some of the upstairs rooms had been cleaned, their beds made with crisp white linen. When the real estate broker arrived, he was visibly stunned. "This place really has potential," he said, turning to Nathan with a surprised look. "I thought it would be in much worse condition, but it's actually quite charming." Nathan nodded, a mix of pride and gratitude in his expression. He realized he owed this young woman so much, a stranger who had cared for Riverside Lodge with such devotion. After the broker left, Nathan found her in the dining room, carefully arranging the silverware, her hands gentle but steady. "Thank you," Nathan said, his voice sincere. She looked up and smiled softly, her eyes reflecting a peaceful calm. "No, I'm the one who should be thanking you," she replied, her voice gentle yet full of emotion. The following week, Nathan returned to Riverside Lodge with mixed emotions, torn between reluctance and resignation. The hotel had officially been put up for sale, and prospective buyers were expected to visit in the coming days. The thought of strangers walking through these halls, which held so many memories of his own, weighed heavily on him. Nathan Caldwell couldn't help but be surprised as he entered Riverside Lodge and heard soft music filling the hallways, accompanied by the scent of freshly brewed coffee. As he entered the lobby, he saw a young woman behind the front desk, carefully folding a stack of new bed linens. When she saw him, she broke into a bright smile. "Good morning, Mr. Caldwell," she said, her voice full of cheer, as though everything were perfectly normal. Nathan stopped, his eyes reflecting a mix of astonishment and curiosity. "Good morning, Claire," he replied, still not accustomed to the sudden vibrancy in a hotel he had once thought was completely faded. "What's going on here?" Claire smiled brightly, her eyes sparkling with pride. "I thought it would be nice if Riverside Lodge felt a little more welcoming and lively. I've been cleaning, reorganizing, and I may have opened the doors a little. We had a few passers-by over the weekend." Nathan's eyes widened in surprise. "Guests? You mean people actually stayed here?" Claire nodded enthusiastically. "Just a few. Enough to keep things manageable. Mostly travelers passing through town looking for a place to rest. They seem to really appreciate the charm of the place. I think it shows that Riverside Lodge still has life." Nathan stood still, his mind spinning with what she had just said. In his mind, the hotel had been a quiet relic, waiting to be handed over to the highest bidder. But Claire, she had brought it back to life, breathing into it a vitality he thought had been lost forever. "Didn't that seem odd to them?" he asked, still struggling to believe in this change. "I mean, this place hasn't had guests in months." Claire shrugged, the smile never leaving her face. "I told them the truth. That Riverside Lodge is a historic property being considered for sale, and I'm just managing it temporarily." Most of them didn't mind. In fact, they said it felt like a hidden gem. Nathan looked at her, his emotions swirling between disbelief and gratitude. He took a deep breath, his eyes shining with sincerity. "Claire, I honestly don't know what to say. In just 1 week, you've done more for this place than I ever thought possible." Claire lowered her head, her smile soft but full of pride. "This place deserves to be saved, Mr. Caldwell. It just needs someone to care about it." She paused for a moment, her gaze dropping as though considering something. When she looked up, her voice was gentle but firm. "And this place has given me something to care for, something that makes me feel like I still matter." Claire's words touched a deep place inside Nathan Caldwell. Riverside Lodge wasn't just a building with 4 walls. It had once been a home, a family legacy, and a place filled with memories. And now, standing before him was Claire, a stranger, with no ties to this place, but who had given her time, her heart, and her hope to revive it. When Nathan left the hotel that day, he no longer felt as if he were simply saying goodbye to a property. Instead, he realized that Claire hadn't just saved the building. She had preserved its spirit, something he, over the years of hardship, had nearly forgotten. From that day on, Nathan found himself returning to Riverside Lodge more often. He worked alongside Claire, helping her maintain the hotel, even personally welcoming a few guests. What Claire had done for the place exceeded all expectations. She placed wildflowers in the rooms, prepared simple yet warm breakfast baskets, and brought a creative touch to refreshing the space. Every small detail radiated her care and affection. A couple from the city remarked that the place felt like the home of an old friend, warm and full of character. Another guest, a businesswoman, shared that the lakeside view of Riverside Lodge had a captivating beauty she had never experienced at any other hotel. One afternoon, as Nathan and Claire were organizing linens in the basement, Nathan hesitated to ask a question that had been lingering in his mind since she first appeared. "Claire," he began cautiously, "what brought you here? You've never really shared much about your past." Claire paused, her expression briefly distant. Nathan wondered if he had crossed a line, but after a brief silence, she sighed and looked at him with a wistful smile. "Life hasn't exactly been kind to me these past few years," she admitted. "I used to work at a small hotel, much like Riverside Lodge. It had the same warmth and charm. I was a housekeeper, and I loved that job. But when the hotel was sold, the new management laid off half the staff. I was one of them." Nathan's heart tightened as he listened. "I tried to find another job, but things weren't easy. Before I knew it, I was lost, with nowhere to go. Then I saw Riverside Lodge, and it felt like a sign. I thought if I could stay here for a while, maybe I'd have a chance to get back on my feet." Her voice softened. "It may sound strange, but this place gave me a sense of purpose. I wanted to do my best, even if it was just for a moment." Nathan looked at her, his heart full of emotion. "That doesn't sound strange at all," he said, his voice sincere. "In fact, I think Riverside Lodge needs you just as much as you need it." They shared a quiet smile. In that moment, Nathan felt a sense of clarity. He was no longer ready to let Riverside Lodge go. He didn't want to destroy something that had meant so much, not just for Claire, but now, for him as well. "Claire," he spoke, breaking the silence, "have you ever thought about staying longer?" Claire looked at him, her eyes filled with curiosity. "What do you mean?" Nathan hesitated, wondering if he was being too bold, but his heart told him this was the right decision. "I mean, if we keep Riverside Lodge open, maybe we can figure out a way to make it profitable again. You have talent. You know how to make this place shine. I can handle the business side. We could do this together." Claire lowered her head, her expression a mix of hope and doubt. "I'd love that, but do you really think we can make it work?" Nathan nodded confidently. "I believe that if we put our hearts into it, we'll have a chance." In the weeks that followed, Nathan and Claire poured all their effort into reviving Riverside Lodge. They spent long hours brainstorming, working late into the night to find ways to attract new guests. They created a marketing plan focused on highlighting the hotel's history and unique charm, deciding to position it as a boutique destination for travelers who appreciated character over glamour. Riverside Lodge began a new chapter, and both Nathan and Claire knew that not only had the hotel been saved, but they had both found something they hadn't realized they were looking for. They reached out to local influencers, inviting them to Riverside Lodge in exchange for social media posts that would draw attention. Nathan asked a photographer friend to capture the hotel's enchanting beauty through stunning photographs. Claire's wildflower arrangements and homemade breakfast baskets became central to Riverside Lodge's new identity. Before long, these changes began to attract notice. One morning, as they sat in the lobby reviewing the booking list, Nathan looked at Claire with a sense of pride and gratitude he hadn't felt in years. "We did it," he said, his eyes lighting up as he saw happy customers booking rooms. "We're really witnessing a miracle." I've never seen my Claire shine like this. She's truly professional. Claire smiled, her eyes sparkling with joy. I can't believe it. It's like this place has come back to life. They shared a laugh over their success. But Nathan's smile slowly faded as he thought about the future ahead. There's still a lot to be done, he admitted. And I can't promise that everything will be easy. Claire looked at him, then gently wrapped her arms around him in a warm embrace. I'm not going anywhere. Nathan, I found something here. A purpose I didn't even know I needed. I want to build it with you. Her words warmed Nathan's heart. And in that moment, he realized their partnership was more than just a business arrangement. In Claire, he saw strength and compassion that had breathed new life into Riverside Lodge and into his own heart. This place was no longer just an old building. It had become a place where two people with different pasts and dreams had come together to create something beautiful. As they looked around the hallway, now filled with soft light and quiet conversations from the newly arrived guests, Nathan felt that Riverside Lodge was no longer a relic of the past. It was a place where he and Claire could build a bright future together. The months that followed were filled with hard work, but also triumphs. Riverside Lodge gradually became a standout destination, widely known as a charming historic hotel. Visitors from all over praised its cozy, inviting atmosphere, complete with homemade breakfast baskets and the warm hospitality of its owners. Riverside Lodge had become a place where guests truly felt at home, thanks to the meticulous care Nathan and Claire put into every detail. What was once a vacant, forgotten building now echoed with laughter and warmth. For Nathan, every day at Riverside Lodge was a gift. He no longer obsessed over past failures or the pressure to sell the place. Instead, he felt proud of his family's legacy. A newfound sense of purpose drove him forward, and working with Claire brought him joy he had never imagined. She had not only transformed Riverside Lodge, but his life as well. Claire had awakened a part of him he thought he had lost long ago. One evening, after closing up following a busy day, Nathan invited Claire up to the hotel's rooftop. The rooftop, with its breathtaking view of the lake, had once been a place he visited to think. But he hadn't been there since the changes began to take shape. The sky was dark, but Nathan's heart felt at peace, knowing that he had finally found where he truly belonged. The stars twinkled above as they stood together by the railing, gazing at the calm lake below. Nathan glanced at Claire, who was looking out into the distance, her hair fluttering in the wind, her face glowing like a light in the night. He was struck by the resilience and determination she exuded. This place looks so different from just a few months ago, Nathan said suddenly, breaking the silence. Everything has changed because of you. Claire turned to him, a shy smile tugging at her lips. I didn't do it alone. We've created this together. Nathan, Riverside Lodge has come back to life because of both of us. Nathan shook his head gently, his eyes full of emotion. Deep down, I used to think there was no hope left, but you've shown me there's still a chance. Nathan didn't know what to say to express his gratitude. Claire, her eyes softening, reached out and took his hand. I think we've helped each other more than we realize, she whispered. I came here to find a place to escape, and instead, I found a home. You've given me something I had lost, a sense of belonging. A moment of silence enveloped them as they stood side by side, their hands intertwined. The warmth of their connection seemed to fill the space between them. Nathan's heart raced as he realized just how much he cared for her. She was no longer just a friend or a business partner. Claire had become someone he couldn't imagine his life without. He began to speak, his voice nearly a whisper. You've changed my life in ways I never thought possible. You've returned my hope, my purpose, and I thank you. You've also stolen my heart. Claire looked up at him, her eyes wide with surprise, as if she couldn't believe the words he had just spoken. But before she could respond, Nathan gently pulled her closer, his lips meeting hers in a soft, sincere kiss. The world around them seemed to melt away, leaving just the two of them beneath the star-filled sky. For the first time in a long time, Nathan felt completely at peace. A sense of fulfillment washed over him as they held each other in the quiet night. When they finally parted, Claire smiled, her cheeks flushed with shyness. I think maybe you've stolen my heart too, she whispered, her voice warm and sweet. They stood together in silence, a moment both heavy and beautiful settling between them. What had started as a chance encounter, a desperate plea for refuge, had now blossomed into something neither of them had expected. A partnership born of love, trust, and shared dreams. A dream to make Riverside Lodge a truly special place. The days passed, and Riverside Lodge continued to thrive. Their lives gradually became a perfect blend of work and joy. Each challenge they faced only strengthened their bond. Guests began to appreciate the little touches Claire added. Fresh wildflower bouquets in the rooms, a cozy reading nook in the lobby, and Nathan's business acumen that helped the hotel stay profitable, despite its modest size and charm. One evening, as they were locking up for the night, Nathan noticed Claire standing by the window, gazing out at the lake, her face distant and contemplative. "What are you thinking about?" Nathan asked, walking over to her. She looked up at him, her eyes soft with emotion. "I was just thinking about how far we've come. I never imagined I'd be part of something like this, or that I would find someone like you." Nathan smiled and draped his arm over her shoulder. "I know that feeling," he said. "Sometimes I wonder if this is all just a dream." Claire chuckled softly, leaning into him. "If it is a dream, then I never want to wake up." They shared a quiet moment, savoring each other's presence. They both knew that together they had found something rare and precious, and Riverside Lodge was no longer just a business. It had become their own little paradise, a place where visitors also found warmth and comfort. But life always has its surprises. A few months later, one afternoon, they received a letter from a renowned travel magazine. The editor had heard of Riverside Lodge from an influencer who had stayed there, and he wanted to feature the hotel in an upcoming issue. The letter read, "Your hotel has a rare charm that is hard to find these days. We believe our readers will love discovering this place." Nathan and Claire exchanged stunned glances. Their faces lit up with excitement, unable to hide their joy. "This could be huge for us," Nathan said, nearly unable to contain his smile. "If we get featured, it could put Riverside Lodge on the map." Claire nodded, her eyes filled with pride. "Just imagine, everyone who comes here will experience what we've created," she said, her voice filled with longing. "That would be a dream come true." Nathan looked at her, his eyes sparkling with the light of a hopeful future. Together, they threw themselves into preparing for what was to come, pouring their hearts into making every corner of Riverside Lodge both inviting and beautiful. Every detail was carefully tended to, from the cozy rooms to the charming common areas. When the journalist arrived to stay over the weekend, they treated him like family, sharing stories about the hotel's history and showing a deep care for the experience of every guest. When the journalist left, he was thoroughly captivated, promising that the story of Riverside Lodge would make a strong impact with readers everywhere. And he was right. A month later, the article was published, sparking a wave of interest. Overnight bookings at Riverside Lodge skyrocketed, and guests from all over the world flocked to experience the charm, hospitality, and warmth the hotel offered. Despite their newfound fame, Nathan and Claire remained true to their original vision. They didn't want Riverside Lodge to become a large business. They wanted it to remain a small, intimate place for those who truly wanted to experience sincerity and closeness. They wanted each guest to feel like family, not just another name on a reservation list. Riverside Lodge was no longer just a hotel. It had become a community where people found warmth and connection in a world that could often feel too cold and disconnected. One evening, after an especially busy day, Nathan and Claire sat together in the hallway, watching the last guests head to their rooms. They were both tired, but a satisfied smile still lingered on their faces. They knew that, despite the hard work, they had created something meaningful. Nathan took Claire's hand, his gaze warm and steadfast. "You know," he said, "none of this would have happened if you hadn't shown up that day, looking for a place to stay." Claire smiled, squeezing his hand, her eyes full of affection. "And none of it would have happened if you hadn't taken a chance on a stranger like me." They both laughed. Their laughter echoed through the space, hearts full of gratitude for the journey that had brought them together. Riverside Lodge was no longer just a place for them. It was a symbol of enduring love and the power of second chances. As they sat there in the quiet of the night, Nathan knew he had found not only a life partner but true love, the one who would always stand by his side, no matter what life threw their way. Riverside Lodge, once a forgotten relic, had become a place filled with laughter, life, and memories, a testament to the magic that can unfold when two people dare to dream together. Looking around at the space they had built, Nathan and Claire understood that this was just the beginning. A life full of purpose, love, and all the beautiful moments ahead awaited them. Thank you so much for your continued support of the channel. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. During the content creation process, there may have been some small mistakes, and we hope you'll kindly overlook them. Wishing everyone happiness, peace, and good health in life. Stay tuned for more.